This season, there are two main candidates for the NBA MVP award. The three-time MVP and consensus best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, and the young guard who has led the Thunder to the best record in the NBA in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, when we look at it, the stats aren't really very particularly close, with one player having the edge in almost every single statistical category that we can look at, and it's the same exact thing in the odds as well. One player is looking like the runaway favorite with no competition between these two. But when I ask you who you think each one would be, considering one person is leading dominantly in statistics and one is leading pretty dominantly in odds and the favorite to win, what if I told you that those were not the same person? Let's take a look at who the MVP is going to be this season and who the MVP should be this season in the NBA. Now, like I said, when we look at the odds, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is minus 4,000 to win the MVP. This means that it is virtually a lock. The biggest lock that we have ever seen in almost anything. I mean, the odds that he doesn't win this are almost incomprehensible. At minus 4,000, there's absolutely no shot. This is like over 99% chance that he wins the MVP, which begs the question, why, when we look at the stats, is Nikola Jokic dominating in almost every single statistical category and it's not even close? This is my main problem with the MVP race this year. Now, if you want to say Shai's the MVP because he's leading the league in scoring, he's the best player on the best team in the NBA, led OKC to the best record, I can agree with you. I could say, okay, that's a valid argument. But to say that he is minus 4,000 and Jokic is plus 1,200, that makes no sense at all. These two do not go together. If anything, whatever you want to make the odds, whoever you say should be the MVP, it should be a lot closer than that. I don't care what it is, this should not be it. I don't think that there's a clear-cut favorite. In my opinion, which I'll get to in a little bit, which I think you guys could probably guess by this point, I don't think it should be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but I don't think that because I think that Nikola Jokic should be the MVP, I don't think that Jokic should be minus 4,000. There's no world where I see that the odds should be this far apart. It makes no sense to me. The NBA has already chosen their MVP. Yes, we don't know who it is yet. We have to wait for the voting and everything to come out. They've already chosen their MVP. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP. No matter what Jokic has done in the past month, 2 months, since Shai has been the favorite, there's no way that he wasn't going to be the MVP. Now, when we check the statistics, it's just not particularly close for me. Nikola Jokic became the first center to ever average a triple-double, which has not been talked about enough, clearly, because he is becoming one of the best players of all time, right? He should win this MVP, in my opinion. I'll 100% state that right now. When we look at these stats, the only stats that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is leading in right here is games played, 6 more, but is points, blocks, and free throw percentage. When we look at the opposite end, Jokic is still in the top 5 or top 3, if not the leader in almost every single stat. 29.6 points, 12.7 rebounds per game, 10.2 assists per game, 1.8 steals. He is one of the league leaders in steals. He is in the top 5 for steals at a center. That's unbelievable, and no one's even talked about that. Field goal percentage, 57% from the field, almost 58%, which obviously he's a center, so you would expect that, but he's leading Shai in the three-point percentage. He's shooting 42% almost from 3, and yes, I know he shoots less threes per game, but Shai isn't this guy that goes out and just throws up threes per game. I mean, when we look at it, it's really not that much of a difference. 4.5 from Jokic this year, 6.8 from Shai. When we're talking about elite guards in the NBA, we don't really see that close of a gap between a center and a guard like this. Usually the guards are putting up a lot more shots, but Shai, tries to get to the rim as much as possible as well. So it is kind of just crazy to look at how these guys, how the odds are just so different and so drastic in a way that just doesn't make sense for me to think about, right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I don't want to take anything away from him. He has had a great season. He's leading the league in scoring almost 33 points per game, still putting up 5 rebounds, still getting 6.4 assists, 1.7 steals, and a block per game, still putting up pretty decent numbers overall as well in the shooting area. And I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me how we got to this point where the odds are so far apart. I think Nikola Jokic is the best player in basketball. I think that's pretty hard to dispute. And they still got 50 wins on the season. I mean, when we're talking about this Nuggets team, who just fired their coach, by the way, as well, which is going to be a reason. Who knows what's going to happen with this team in the playoffs, just to say that as well and put that out there without their head coach. But 50 wins from Jokic this year. This team isn't that team that we've seen the past few years where they're going to contend for a championship. They might contend this year. I'm not counting them off, but the team built around them, Jokic continues to get better, but we've seen a dip in performance from some of the players on this team as well, some of these role players and starters, but Jokic just continues to get better no matter what. And whatever stat you want to look at besides scoring, which the scoring is still very close, Nikola Jokic is the better player in almost every single statistical category. The difference between what this MVP race gives us and an MVP race from before in a guy like Embiid. Embiid was the scorer, but he was still putting up nearly the same amount of rebounds per game. He was still putting up a good amount of assists per game. He was still the better player defensively at that point, and the scoring gap was so much further away than we even see now. Embiid was averaging, there was more of a difference in points between Embiid and Jokic than there is from Shai and Jokic, which is another thing that I want to point out, since a lot of people like to say that Shai is this fantastic scorer, and I think he is, like I said, but that is disproving and discounting what Jokic is doing this season as well as a fantastic scorer, putting up almost 30 points per game as a center, still getting a triple-double every single night, obviously averaging that on the season, putting up almost 42% from 3 and almost 58% from the field. In my opinion, I still think it's close. Like I said, I think Jokic should win the MVP. You know, he's the third NBA player to average a triple-double ever. He's the first center. He's joining guys like Oscar Robertson and Russell Westbrook. When Russell Westbrook averaged that triple-double, he won the MVP. When Nikola Jokic does it, he's not even close. He will end up second in the MVP voting, but he has no chance to win it, which makes no sense to me in the end. You guys let me know down below if I'm getting this wrong. Like I said, I don't want to discredit Shai at all. Like I said, I understand. If you think that Shai should win the MVP because he's the best player on the best team and brought the Thunder to the best record in the NBA, and they're the number 1 overall seed, and he is the catalyst for that, I could understand your argument. What I don't get is why the odds are so far apart, and it seems like Shai has already wrapped up the MVP award. I don't understand it. And for Jokic to be top 3 or top 5 in almost every single statistical category you can count this season and not win the MVP, I think is a disgrace overall. And it seems like the NBA media is stepping backwards with this one as well. Let me know what you guys think down below. Maybe I got it wrong, but I'll see you guys in the next one.